Talia's vision. Talia stood at the center of the laboratory, her lavender skin glowing under the soft light of the holographic displays. Around her, a group of Lamari scientists and human researchers gathered, their eyes fixed on the neural link device that had become the symbol of a new era. "This is not just an experiment," Talia began, her voice steady and filled with conviction. "This is a bridge between our species, our cultures, and our understanding of what it means to truly connect." The Lumari's reluctance. Despite Talia's passion, not everyone shared her enthusiasm. Many of her Lamari colleagues remained skeptical, their logical minds struggling to grasp the value of human emotions. "Why should we embrace something so chaotic?" asked Dr. Reiner, a senior scientist. "Our strength lies in our rationality, not in these unpredictable sensations." Talia met his gaze, her violet eyes unwavering. "Our strength lies in our ability to adapt, to grow. Emotions are not a weakness, they are a tool, a way to deepen our understanding of ourselves and others." Daniel's support. Daniel stood by Talia's side, his presence a constant source of support. "She's right," he said, addressing the group. "Emotions are what make us human. They're what drive us to create, to explore, to connect. If we can share that with you, imagine what we could achieve together." The room fell silent as the scientists considered his words. Slowly, a few nods of agreement began to emerge. The first group experiment. With the council's cautious approval, Talia and Daniel prepared for the first group experiment. A select group of Lamari volunteers, including Dr. Kale and Dr. Reiner, would experience human emotions through the neural link. Talia carefully calibrated the device, her hands moving with precision. "Remember," she said, addressing the volunteers, "this will be overwhelming at first. But trust the process. Trust yourselves." A wave of sensations. As the neural link activated, the room was filled with a chorus of gasps and laughter. Dr. Kale's eyes widened as he felt the warmth of joy for the first time, while Dr. Reiner struggled to maintain his composure as a wave of sadness washed over him. "This is extraordinary, Dr. Kale said, his voice filled with wonder. "I feel alive." Talia smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "This is just the beginning," she said. The council's reaction. The success of the group experiment did not go unnoticed by the Lamari Council. Councillor Valen summoned Talia and Daniel to a meeting, his expression unreadable. "Your experiment has caused quite a stir," he said. "Many are calling it a breakthrough. Others, a threat." Talia stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "It is neither, Councillor. It is an opportunity to grow, to learn, to become more than we were. A new understanding." As the days passed, the Lamari volunteers began to share their experiences with their colleagues, sparking a wave of curiosity and debate. "I never thought I would say this," Dr. Reiner admitted, "but there is value in these emotions. They allow us to see the world in a new light." Talia's heart swelled with hope as she watched the once skeptical scientist embrace the very thing he had feared. Daniel's reflection. One evening, as Talia and Daniel stood on the observation deck, watching the stars, Daniel turned to her with a thoughtful expression. "You've done something incredible, Talia," he said. "You've opened their eyes, and their hearts." Talia smiled, her violet eyes glowing with gratitude. "I could not have done it without you, Daniel. You showed me the beauty of humanity, and now I am sharing it with my people. A shared future." As the neural link experiment continued, Talia and Daniel worked together to refine the technology, making it safer and more accessible. They dreamed of a future where humans and Lamari could share not just knowledge, but emotions, a future where the gap between their species was bridged by understanding and empathy. "This is just the beginning," Talia said, her voice filled with hope. "Together, we can create something extraordinary." The ripple effect. The impact of the experiment began to ripple through both human and Lumari societies. On Earth, news of the breakthrough sparked a wave of excitement and curiosity. "This is a historic moment," said Dr. Elena Martinez, a leading human scientist. "We are not just exploring new worlds, we are exploring new ways of being." A new chapter. As Talia and Daniel stood side by side, looking out at the vast expanse of space, they knew that they were on the brink of something extraordinary. The neural link was more than a device, it was a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of connection and understanding. "This is our legacy," Talia said, her voice filled with determination. "A bridge between two worlds, built on trust, empathy, and the courage to feel." The tickling revelation. Talia's violet eyes widened as the sensation of tickling coursed through her for the first time. Her lips parted in a mix of surprise and confusion, and a soft, almost musical sound escaped her, a laugh. It was a sound so foreign to her own ears that she froze, her analytical mind scrambling to process what was happening. This is what humans call tickling?" she asked, her voice tinged with both wonder and disbelief. Daniel nodded, his grin widening. "Yep, that's it. Pretty wild, huh?" A flood of new emotions. For Talia, the sensation was overwhelming. Her Lumari physiology was not designed to process such visceral, unfiltered emotions. She felt a strange warmth spreading through her chest, a lightness that made her want to smile, an expression she rarely used. "I do not understand," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "How do humans manage this chaos of sensation?" Daniel chuckled, leaning back against the examination table. "We just roll with it. It's part of what makes us human." The Lumari's logical dilemma. Talia's mind raced as she tried to reconcile the flood of emotions with her logical nature. She had always prided herself on her ability to remain calm and composed, even in the most challenging situations. But this was something entirely different. "I must analyze this further," she said, her voice regaining some of its usual steadiness. "This sensation is not just physical. It is emotional." Daniel raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "You're feeling emotions too? That's amazing. The neural link must be working even better than we thought." A glimpse into humanity. As Daniel continued to gently tickle her arm, Talia found herself laughing again, a genuine, unrestrained laugh that surprised even her. "This is delightful," she admitted, her glowing violet eyes sparkling with newfound joy. "But also, confusing. How do humans function with such unpredictability?" Daniel shrugged. "We just do. Emotions are a big part of who we are. They help us connect with each other, understand each other. It's not always logical, but it's real." The experiment deepens. Talia's curiosity grew as she began to explore the new sensations. She reached out, her slender fingers brushing against Daniel's arm. "Is this what you feel?" she asked, her voice soft. Daniel nodded, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Yeah, that's it. But for me, it's normal. For you, well, it's a whole new world." Talia's expression softened as she realized the significance of what they were doing. "This is more than an experiment," she said. "This is a bridge between our species." The Lumari Council's concerns. As the experiment continued, news of Talia's breakthrough spread quickly through the research station. The Lumari Council, a group of high-ranking officials who oversaw all major scientific endeavors, expressed concern. "This experiment is unprecedented," said Councillor Valen, his deep voice resonating through the communication channel. "We must proceed with caution. The implications of sharing human sensations with our kind are unknown." Talia, ever the diplomat, reassured him. "I understand your concerns, Counselor. But this is a unique opportunity to deepen our understanding of humanity. I will proceed carefully." A bond forms. As the days passed, Daniel and Talia spent more time together, refining the neural link and exploring its possibilities. Talia found herself increasingly drawn to Daniel's warmth and humor, while Daniel admired her intelligence and determination. "You know," he said one day as they worked in the lab, "I never thought I'd see a Lumari laugh. It's kind of beautiful." Talia's cheeks flushed a faint shade of purple, a Lumari equivalent of a blush. "Thank you, Daniel," she said softly. "This experience has been enlightening." The emotional floodgate opens. One evening, as the two of them sat in the observation deck, watching the stars, Talia turned to Daniel with a thoughtful expression. "I have been thinking," she said. "If I can feel human emotions, does that mean I can also feel sadness? Anger? Fear?" Daniel nodded. "Yeah, you probably can. Emotions are a package deal. You can't pick and choose." Talia's brow furrowed as she considered this. "That is daunting. But also fascinating. I wish to explore this further." A new chapter begins. As the neural link experiment continued, Talia began to experience a wider range of human emotions. She felt the warmth of joy, the ache of sadness, and the sharp sting of frustration. Each new sensation was a revelation, challenging her understanding of herself and her species. "This is more than I ever imagined," she said to Daniel one day. "It is as if I am discovering a part of myself I never knew existed." Daniel smiled, his eyes filled with admiration. "That's the beauty of it, Talia. You're not just learning about humanity, you're learning about yourself." The weight of human emotions. Talia sat in the quiet solitude of her quarters, her mind racing as she tried to process the flood of emotions she had experienced through the neural link. The joy of laughter, the warmth of connection, the ache of sadness, it was all so overwhelming. For a species that prided itself on logic and restraint, these human sensations felt like a tidal wave crashing against the shores of her carefully constructed world. She stared at her reflection in the polished surface of the wall, her violet eyes glowing faintly. "Who am I now?" she whispered to herself. Daniel's guidance. The next day, Daniel found Talia in the lab, her usual composed demeanor replaced by a pensive expression. "Hey," he said gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" Talia looked up, her eyes searching his. "I do not know," she admitted. "These emotions, they are so powerful. I feel as though I am losing control." Daniel nodded, understanding. "That's normal, Talia. Emotions can be intense, especially when you're not used to them. But they're also what make life meaningful. A lesson in vulnerability." Daniel pulled up a chair and sat beside her. "Tell me what you're feeling," he said. Talia hesitated, her logical mind struggling to put her emotions into words. "I feel joy when I am with you," she began. "But also fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing myself in these sensations. And sadness. For all the years I lived without feeling anything at all." Daniel listened intently, his presence a comforting anchor in her storm of emotions. "It's okay to feel all of that," he said. "It's part of being alive." The Lumari Council's intervention. Meanwhile, the Lumari Council grew increasingly concerned about the experiment's impact on Talia. Counselor Valen summoned her to a meeting, his expression stern. "Dr. Neva," he said, "we have received reports of your emotional instability. This experiment is jeopardizing your ability to perform your duties." Talia straightened, her voice calm but firm. "With all due respect, Counselor, this experiment is expanding my understanding of humanity in ways we never imagined. Yes, it is challenging, but it is also invaluable." A clash of ideals. The Council was not convinced. "Our species has thrived for millennia through logic and reason," Valen argued. "We cannot risk losing that to human impulsiveness." Talia's eyes flashed with determination. And yet, we have also remained distant, isolated. This experiment is a chance to bridge that gap, to learn from humanity and grow as a species. The room fell silent as the council considered her words. Finally, Valen spoke. Proceed with caution, Dr. Neva. But know that the council will be watching closely. A new perspective. Talia returned to the lab, her resolve stronger than ever. She shared the council's concerns with Daniel, who listened with a thoughtful expression. They're scared, he said. Change is hard, especially for a species as logical as yours. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. Talia nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. You are right. This is not just about me. It is about our future, about understanding each other and building a stronger alliance. Exploring sadness. As the days passed, Talia continued to explore the full spectrum of human emotions. One evening, she and Daniel watched a classic Earth film, a poignant story of love and loss. As the credits rolled, Talia found herself wiping away tears. This is sadness, she said, her voice trembling. It is so heavy, so painful. And yet, there is beauty in it. Daniel nodded, his own eyes glistening. Yeah, that's the thing about emotions. Even the hard ones have meaning. A growing bond. Talia and Daniel's bond deepened as they navigated the complexities of human emotions together. They spent hours talking, sharing stories, and exploring the nuances of what it meant to feel. Talia found herself laughing more freely, her once reserved demeanor softening under Daniel's influence. You've changed me, she said one day, her voice filled with gratitude. And I am grateful for it. Daniel smiled, his heart swelling with affection. You've changed me too, Talia. I never thought I'd see the world through your eyes. The ripple effect. Talia's experiences began to ripple through the Lamari community. Her colleagues, initially skeptical, grew curious about the neural link and the emotions it unlocked. Is it truly as transformative as they say? Asked Dr. Kale, a fellow scientist. Talia nodded, her eyes shining with conviction. It is. But it is not without its challenges. To feel is to be vulnerable, to embrace the unknown. It is a journey, but one worth taking. A new chapter. As the neural link experiment continued, Talia and Daniel worked together to refine the technology, making it safer and more accessible. They dreamed of a future where humans and Lamari could share not just knowledge, but emotions, a future where the gap between their species was bridged by understanding and empathy. This is just the beginning, Talia said, her voice filled with hope. Together, we can create something extraordinary. The Gleaming Laboratory. Lieutenant Commander Daniel Harrington adjusted his protective goggles as he stepped into the Gleaming Laboratory aboard the Celestial Harmony Research Station. The space-based facility orbited Proxima Centauri b, a planet known for its harsh beauty. The lab was a joint venture between humanity and the Lamari, a humanoid species renowned for their analytical minds and reserved demeanor. Daniel's tactical vest felt snug against his muscular frame as he carried the neural connector, its polished surface catching the light. At 35, Daniel had volunteered for this diplomatic science mission after a distinguished career in the Earth Defense Fleet. His dark, curly hair was cropped short in a military style, and his neatly trimmed beard framed a strong jawline that had earned him more than a few admiring glances from both human and alien colleagues. Dar. Talia Neva's curiosity. Commander Harrington, punctual as always, said Dr. Talia Neva, the lead Lamari scientist. Her lavender skin shimmered under the laboratory lights, and her long, silvery hair was pulled back in an intricate braid. Like all Lamari, her eyes had a subtle glow, hers a deep violet that contrasted with her pale features. I try not to disappoint, Doctor, Daniel replied with a warm smile, setting the device on the examination table. Is everything prepared for today's experiment? Talia nodded, her movements precise and economical. The neural mapping protocols have been calibrated to human sensory parameters. We believe this will be the first successful cross-species sensory sharing experience. The Lumari's fascination with humanity. The Lumari were fascinated by human emotional and sensory responses. Their own neurological structure processed sensations differently, experiencing the world through a filter of logic and analysis that dampened what humans would consider visceral reactions. This experiment was designed to bridge that gap, allowing a Lumari to temporarily experience sensations as a human would. And you're still volunteering as the test subject? Daniel asked, his brown eyes meeting hers. Affirmative. As lead researcher, it is logical that I should be the first to experience the results, Talia replied, her voice even but with a hint of something else, curiosity, perhaps even excitement, carefully contained. The neural link activation. Daniel watched as Talia prepared for the experiment, her movements methodical and deliberate. She connected the neural connector to a series of interfaces, each one designed to translate human sensory data into a format her brain could process. This device will allow me to experience what you feel, correct? She asked, her violet eyes narrowing slightly as she examined the equipment. That's the idea, Daniel replied. But are you sure you're ready for this? Human sensations can be overwhelming. Talia paused, considering his words. I have studied human physiology extensively. I am prepared. The first connection. As Talia activated the neural link, a faint hum filled the room. The device glowed softly, casting a pale light across her face. Daniel reached out, his fingers brushing against her arm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Talia's eyes widened, and she gasped. What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "That's called touch," Daniel said with a grin. "But this is different," Talia said, her logical demeanor faltering. "It's ticklish. A new sensation." Daniel chuckled, gently running his fingers along her arm again. Talia flinched, a strange sound escaping her lips, something between a laugh and a gasp. "This is unexpected," she said, her voice tinged with wonder. "Welcome to the human experience," Daniel said, his smile widening. For the first time, Talia felt something she had never known before, joy, pure and unfiltered. It was a small step, but it was the beginning of something extraordinary.